Welcome back to Booze, Bros, and Cars, your favorite podcast about booze and cars, and we're your hosts. I'm Eric.
I'm Carmelo.
And for tonight, we're going to be doing, or first up, I should say, not for tonight. So first up, we're going to be doing the motorsports segment here of our podcast. But before we start jumping into motorsports talk, we're going to go ahead and do what we usually always do, which is talk about what we're going to be drinking tonight. So first up, I have here a beer from Equilibrium. I've had them once before. This is actually their Swirl and Spirals. It's a 11% beer. It's an imperial stout with cinnamon toast cereal, maple syrup, pecans, cinnamon, Madagascar vanilla, and lactose. So pretty much it's like a cinnamon toast crunch beer, or at least I'm hoping that's how it tastes like. It sounds phenomenal. Carmelo, what do you got for tonight?
All right, so tonight I got a double Bulgaria Frosé. And Eric, that was just you a few moments ago. Guys, check out the bloopers on our TikTok and our Reels. But
that's great.
So this is King's Brewing Company, 7%, and it's interesting. I had something similar. It's one of the Tripping Animals. It's a collab with Tripping Animals.
Okay.
So just one of those things. Has a little bit of grape, blueberry, I believe honey and raspberry vibes. So we'll give it a shot. Check it out.
Nice. Yeah, Tripping Animals make some very interesting stuff. Like some of their stuff is really good. Actually, most of their stuff is really good. I think maybe once or twice I've had a couple beers that I wasn't too fond of, but I mean, aside from just one or two beers, Tripping Animals is pretty solid. They're definitely up there with top favorite beer breweries.
But I've never had a bad beer from them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like they have a wider variety, obviously, at their tap room. So you can get a lot more stuff if you go to their tap room. So we have to try to make a, I mean, I've mentioned it to Nick a couple times, and we obviously went one time, but it was kind of like a random, like spontaneous trip down to Miami, but we went down specifically to go down to Spanish Marie. But we have to try to go down there one weekend where we just go to like a couple different breweries and things like that. So it'll be fun, man.
Yeah, do a trip.
Yeah.
A BBC trip, but not the dirty things you guys are thinking.
Yes. For sure.
Booze Bros and Cars trip.
Yes, a Booze Bros and Cars trip. So Formula One talk. It's actually going to be really exciting. I don't think I've ever been this excited to talk about Formula One because God, this weekend, the Brazilian GP was insane. I mean, literally starting off with free practice, right? One, Formula One obviously is either in the morning or in the afternoon, whatever. There's some nighttime races, but Brazil was actually a daytime race. And come Friday, it literally looked like it was like nighttime. Like it was a really, really, really bad storm.
Yeah.
And it was crazy because Carmelo, did you see the video that the wind was so strong that it actually blew the roof off of the grandstands?
And I mean, it was just canvas or like a vinyl roof, but still, it just somebody got injured. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was insane. But aside from that, I mean, like that's not the only crazy thing that happened. Or,
I mean, where do we start?
Yeah, there's so much. One thing that I actually did want to say that was actually really funny was that did you see the video that they kind of pre-announced the winner right after one of the free practices or right before like the sprint shootout, which they were just playing like the freaking Dutch anthem just because kind of. I mean, it's kind of obvious,
I mean, they play Dutch all three, anthem. Right? They play anybody on the podium and the manufacturer. So when you think about it, Max, unless he has, I was talking with somebody about this earlier. Being a big Red Bull fan, it's a fortunate. Lewis Hamilton, Lulu had it, and so did Mercedes years ago. But it's a guarantee they win unless they have a mechanical failure or somebody crashes into them. That's it. I mean, and I was kind of hoping.
I just thought that was hilarious, man. Like that was so funny.
I was kind of hoping something would happen to Max today. I don't want to get into the race just yet for everybody. We are recording this on a Sunday, a couple hours post-race. But I'll finish that thought here in a little bit. Eric, take it away from the sprint.
Yeah, for sure. And then during the sprint shootout, which is actually kind of like just qualifying for the sprint race, Ocon like brutally slammed into Alonso, and what I found very entertaining was that Ocon was blaming Alonso. But if you look at Alonso was just strolling along, and then he was making a left, and then you just see Ocon just full blast, full send, slammed right into him, and he's like, "What the hell? Like, what the f is Alonso doing?" And it's just like, bro, like he was just chilling, and you just like came full send and just slammed right into him.
Well, even today, Ocon got tangled up with the Haas's. I mean,
oh yeah,
Esteban. We might catch some flack for this. He's had some good moments, but he's consistently not good. I know, I'm not gonna try to put anybody down, but he's one of the few drivers, almost like Nico Hulkenberg. I'm surprised it's like has a seat. You know, in my opinion, Daniel Ricciardo is a better quality driver than either of them. So I'm just surprised that, and I mean, Danny didn't want to go to Haas, and that was Gunther Steiner, whether it's true or not, made that public last year. But some of these guys on the back end, you know, people that were giving the former Williams racer whose dad owns the Lavazza, the distribution rights for Lavazza in Canada. He's now in England going to working on an MBA. But
is that
not Lance? It's like
no. It was it. Oh my god, is that the kid that got fired from Red Bull or from AlphaTauri? No. I thought he was going after his MBA.
No. That's you're thinking of De Vries. You're thinking of Nick De Vries.
Yes. Yeah. No. Nick De Vries.
God, what is his name? Now it's just driving me crazy.
Yeah.
And
anyways.
Yeah, but anyway, it's sad thing is I'm on Google right now and I can't find his name. So apparently everybody forgets.
Everybody gets fired from a Formula 1 team.
Oh no! It was
or Google forgets too. Google forgot about him too.
Yeah, I mean, there's like Damon Hill, Nelson, Juan Pablo Montoya, Patrice, Albon's there, but I can't.
Well, we know what Juan Pablo Montoya is doing. He's been doing a bunch of racing here and there. I mean, like shit, he was racing at for IMSA. We saw him a couple years ago at Sebring. What was he driving? He was driving a Ferrari, right?
He was driving one of the LMP cars, LMP1. He was in the top class.
Oh, was he driving the Acura before Wayne Taylor Racing? Got it. Yeah.
That's because I remember I got a photo with him, and that was incredible. It was but he wasn't there the year that Fernando Alonso did WEC, because Alonso did do 1 year.
Yeah.
All right. So after a couple minutes of Googling, it was Nicholas Latifi. I don't know how I forgot, but
Latifi, that's right. I forgot about him. Well, we all forgot about him. Latifi was there for like one season. That's it.
No, he was 2 or 3. He was with him and George Russell got there together, and he just never did well. But anyway, moving on. The sprint, McLaren, Lando's got it. I've been talking about it all year. Lando, I mean,
he's had like his off moments, but I feel like right at the end of the season, man, he is like coming in clutch, dude. Actually, ever since the summer break, like he came back and he's just been driving like freaking like a bat out of hell, man. Like he's been driving insane.
Skipping ahead to the race, not trying to skip back and forth, but 8.27 seconds behind Max in a full race of 71, 72 laps, right? Like nobody's done that this year on a full race.
Actually, he got a lot closer, but we'll get to that once we start talking about the race.
Was Max just playing with him?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. But anyways, so Max, obviously, he won the sprint race as usual. Lando, we were just talking about him, ended in P2, and Checo ended in P3. which I was really surprised by Checo. And I was really rooting for him on the GP race today, but he was there. He had a chance. He made one error, but we'll talk about that later. But anyways, now jumping into the actual GP itself. What a dramatic start, bro.
Well, even before, I mean, even just the formation lap. Ferrari,
well, yes.
Looking great. You know, I mean, Leclerc qualified well. You know, top 5 quali. I think Carlos Sainz started 7th or 8th. Not the best from him. We've seen better earlier in the season.
Yeah, and Leclerc was in P2.
Oh, he was in P2. Okay, yeah, that's right. So you gotta think.
He was P2,
and then he has a hydraulic failure. Goes into a wall.
Spun it on the formation lap,
and
before the race started. Oh my god!
On the formation, I just feel bad. I mean, it's literally.
He was so gutted too, man. Because you can hear how hurt he was in his voice. He was like, "Fuck, you know, why does this happen to me?" And man, you can tell that he's so disappointed with Ferrari. And even with his interview today, he was just like, "This year is a season to forget." He's like, "I'm concentrating on the last 2 races, and then from then on out, we'll just worry about next year." So I feel like he's just not happy with Ferrari right now. Obviously, we've heard Carlos Sainz expressing a lot of
frustration.
A lot of frustrations, yes, thank you, with Ferrari. But man, like, well, first off was that dramatic start. And then you mentioned it earlier, but Hülkenberg clipped Ocon, which made Ocon drive into Magnussen. Right before turn 1. I know, dude. Right before they didn't even enter turn 1. It was right before turn 1. It was on the straight, like, not even a far distance, dude. Like, and instant. Well, they first got a yellow flag, and then they did a full course red. Yeah,
they did a full course red, and during the yellow, they had everybody come into the pit so they could clean up the wreckage. But the irony was, you know, with Schumacher last year, Gunther publicly, repeatedly said, he drives into the wall, he's young, he crashes, it costs too much. Up until the past 2 races, Haas has been on the lower end, I think like top 4 in least spent on crashes. Past 2 GPs, I'm pretty sure they've surpassed, last year. So it's sort of karma. I hate knocking on Haas, an American team, us being from the States. But I like Nico Hülkenberg. K-Mag is neither here nor there. He has talent, it's not consistent. And Hülkenberg just never can seem to put it all together. He has...
I know. I agree.
So it's one of those, what do you do? Now you're sitting in a worse spot than you were last season.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a sad day for Haas. It makes Hülkenberg look like he doesn't have any driver awareness. He should have been looking, especially with the F1 TV or the F1 Live. I was able to see the in-car view, and you could clearly see the car next to him, and then you could see some of the livery of Magnussen's car.
A little right.
So I mean, and I get we're not driving at 130 miles an hour. 150 where they were, but he should have known better. He turned into a car that was going straight.
I agree.
Daniel Ricciardo got taken out. Somebody else, was it Yuki?
Well,
Yuki had an issue from there. I don't think it was Yuki.
Ricciardo didn't get taken out. What happened was that it was
his spoiler got taken out.
Ocon's tire got debeated, and it flew up in the air. Hülkenberg so happened to have hit it with his back left tire and flung the tire up in the air, and then it launched it and smashed Ricciardo's rear spoiler, so he had rear spoiler damage. Magnussen, when he got hit by Ocon, actually hit Piastri.
Jeez.
And caused Piastri's rear end to get damaged.
So it was just a mess. I mean, and we can't blame Magnussen. Magnussen wasn't expecting to get hit. But Just not a good way for Haas to start a race, and that's.
Oh, for sure. But I will say one thing. Piastri was saved by that red flag because they almost retired the car because he pitted in and they put the car in the garage right before. It was during the yellow because he did the first lap, and then Piastri and Ricciardo went into the pits, so they were a lap down.
Yeah.
So they were told like, hey, we're going to retire the cars. And then they went full course yellow and they're like, no, we're not going, we're not retired. We're going to fix the car. So they had like 20, 25 minutes and they were actually able to fix both cars and they were able to get back on the track. But man, talking back again about Lando. So I'm going to give two drivers a shout out, which is Lando and Checo. Holy hell. They drove, I'm going to repeat myself, like a bat out of hell, man. Yeah. Like, holy shit. So, Lando got as close as 0.285 seconds or 0.283 seconds up to Verstappen, which is unheard of this season.
And then for those that missed the start of the race, he was about a second. He was 1.3 seconds behind, almost a second and a half behind. Yeah. And then within a lap and a half, closed the gap.
That was after the red. That was after the red.
Yeah, post red
and the green light.
Restart.
Yeah, and the green flag.
So let's take it back just to the start. So the initial start, we talked about the crashes, but Lando starting in P6? Yeah, started in P6.
P6, P5.
He had a killer
P6,
launch.
P6.
I was waiting for them to say that he had a false start, because he hit it, got to 0 to 150 kilometers faster than max, and before you know it, if there would have been another 200 meters, they would have been wheel to wheel at that turn because Lando was close. That was probably the best start Lando's had, and Lando's not the best. He doesn't have the best reputation for starts. You can see that he's matured over the past couple since summer, but pre-summer, even early last year, whenever he'd start front row or top 5, he'd be fighting off the get-go and clip something and end up having to pit front wing. So to see him mature and be a true competitor to Max in a car that is nowhere near the Red Bull is phenomenal.
Yeah, but if that's any kind of foreshadowing of what's going to happen next year, hopefully if he has the right car, he's going to give Max a run for his money next year.
And if McLaren's developing the way they have been, he'll be on the right car. I think they'll still be behind Red Bull, but they've caught up. I mean, they went from being the last team to, consecutive podiums.
Being on podiums like regularly.
6 podiums in 7 races.
It's crazy.
Good for them. I mean, phenomenal.
Yeah. But anyways, kind of touching back on Checo. So, man, Checo had a hell of a freaking race, man. Like, he was... he had a good fight with Russell for a couple laps, and then just finally overtook him, and then and I think he was like 3 seconds behind Hamilton after he passed Russell, and he closed that gap. Like, he was just like inching that track, or that gap. He closed it and overtook him, which was awesome, man. Like, that was
a good battle.
That was a hell of a race. Oh, heck yeah!
And Lewis has always defended against the second Red Bull. I mean, I don't know if you remember a couple seasons ago when Albon was in there. Was that 2021? Albon was fighting for third, passing Lewis. Lewis clipped him in Brazil, clipped him in another race. And, it never worked out. But, Checo and Lewis, Checo was one of the main reasons Lewis never got his 8th title.
Yeah. So well, he held them back for 10, 15 laps. I forgot what GP, but
there was in Bahrain. It was in the final.
Yes,
but there was other tracks that he did that.
Yeah.
So I know, but Lewis doesn't
for sure.
Lewis doesn't forget.
Yeah, but actually, he overtook Hamilton twice because they both pitted for tires, and then
and Hamilton got
out. He overtook him again. I was like, man. But I just want to know where has this Checo been? Like, this is the Checo that I want to see driving every single GP. Like that Checo has been MIA since like what the Miami or the Italian race. Like this is the Checo that I want to see driving every single GP, because it's the Checo that reminds me of the Checo that was driving for Force India. Like that's the Checo that I want to see, where he was in P20 and ended up being on pole. I mean, for the GP. Like that's the Checo that I want to see. Like
getting lap one, getting new tires, new spoiler, whatever, and then going out and then winning. I mean that's the race that seeded him in Red Bull.
Yes,
and he has those moments. I know he's stated that the car development has not been to his liking. Obviously,
no, it
goes towards what Max wants, because Max delivers,
but here's the thing. Yeah, I do too. But here's the thing: he's a seasoned enough driver where he should be able to adapt his driving style to the car, and I feel like at some times or some moments he does. And then, like today is a perfect example that he's able to drive the car to not its full potential, but nearly its full potential. Because obviously we saw him, he was like he was P7 and he ended in P4, which he should have been P3.
No, I disagree with that. He could have been P3.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. He could have been P3, but he ran overbraked. No, he overbraked turn 1 on the last lap
because Fernando pressured him and did it.
Yes,
like Fernando, and it's not necessarily fair. Fernando has always, his experience, his driving has always been top notch. And Checo had a great race. I think this was one of his best races since Miami.
Oh, for sure.
And what a way for him to come back after Mexico crashing first corner. You know, like good for him.
Oh yeah, at last week's GP.
But this does go to show that as much as we like Checo, and I want Checo to do well, I don't know if he's in his head, but he just doesn't have it. Because Checo, if it would have been the Miami Checo, Miami Checo could have handled the pressure. I just think it's too much in his head, almost like Ricardo at McLaren. You know, it's he needs really to get his head in the game. I know this P4 is going to hurt him. Had he made it on the podium,
actually, I don't think so. I feel like he is proud of that P4, because here's the thing: he was able to put up the fight against Alonso, which is a very, very seasoned driver. Like Alonso has how many years on Checo? He's got at least 8 years on him.
But you got to remember too, we're not talking the same car. That
we're not,
and we're not even talking the Aston from the beginning of the season. This Aston is probably a P5, P8, somewhere in that, upper rest of the best crowd.
Right.
Checo should have passed him.
But it goes back to my comment that, he's Fernando is a seasoned driver, and he's able to actually drive the car.
Oh yeah, to the max.
How it's supposed to. Yeah.
And I think that's the difference between him and Checo. I think Checo has a talent. He just needs to figure it out.
Oh, for sure.
And I definitely agree with that. Going into some of the things, it's almost like there's been a post or a fall silly season when it comes to rotations of, a couple weeks ago there was rumors of Lando getting contacted by Red Bull for a seat next year.
Yeah.
Lando ended up explaining he was contacted by Red Bull and, he had no interest. It didn't get that far, but he had no interest. He's happy at McLaren.
Yeah.
Interesting things are being talked about right now in Aston Martin. If Lance pulls the plug, will Lawrence? And if Lawrence does,
Yeah, but those are, at the moment, those are all rumors. So, we can touch on that once things kind of unwind.
But I mean, there's already rumors of Daniel possibly moving in if Checo loses that P2 spot in the driver's standings.
Well, actually, Christian Horner said a couple of days ago that even if Checo does not end up in P2 for the drivers' championship, it's not going to affect his seat. So he already said that.
That's good, because a lot of stuff was getting said about that, and I mean today was a great example of Checo extending that gap. I think he's at 31 points now, but it's not something Lewis is not one to sleep on. I mean, he's had a couple bad races, so it's Checo. but Checo's been lucky that Lewis had a rough time in Mexico.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
Checo, I know you're not listening, but if you or any of your people are, we want you to do good, man. Just you got it. Just drive it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
If you can manipulate that car and use that tool better than Max, do it. You've done it before.
Mm-hmm.
You have the ability. Just do it.
Yeah. Anyways, let's go ahead and have a quick beverage recap of what we're drinking. So, as I mentioned, I'm drinking the Equilibrium, the Swirls and Spirals beer. It's 11% ABV. It's kind of like a cinnamon toast crunch style beer. It's actually really good. I actually really enjoy it. Even though it's 11%, it doesn't feel like it's that strong. Obviously, it is a thicker beer. Because I was pouring in it, it's super thick. But aside from that, really good. I'm actually enjoying this. It is a really, really dark beer, but I love dark beers, man. Porters and stouts, they're so delicious. Anyways, what about your drink?
So the Double Bagheria Frosé. I don't know, maybe because Tripping Animals, Miami, Rick Ross, Miami, just felt that, had to say it that way. It's good. Not overly sweet. I wouldn't call it like a true sour, but it's very tart.
Yeah.
It's like the perfect blend. There's no, it's good. I mean, the honey that I thought was there is just, on the can. But it's definitely, berry full. It's definitely blueberries, raspberries, and
I can see that by the art. So
no, it was really, really good. Surprisingly good. I had a different flavor of this rosé before, and it was a little bit heavier. So this pouring like yours, it was very thick, but it wasn't. It was good.
Nice. Anyways, so that's all the time that we have here for today. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. We appreciate all of our listeners, watchers, and our subscribers, and everybody that follows us on social media. Don't forget to savor your brews and hit the road responsibly. Also, don't forget to hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, all the other good stuff. Help us grow the channel and actually get to the Miami GP race within the next couple of years by getting invited by one of the teams.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. And we'll see you guys next week.